Welcome to another edition of I Am AAPC. Today I have with me Sandra Roth, AAPC's 2025 Chapter Officer of the Year. Hey, Sandra,
Hello.
how are you?
I am good. I am good. I am just, it's getting a little hot here, Alex. That's all I got to say.
Yep,
I'm not,
yep.
91's not really hot, but it is for me. I'm like, wow, I think I'm gonna move to like the Glacier National Park where it's cold.
I love spring and fall, but they tend to go too quick, and then we're either right
Yes.
into winter or right into
Yes.
summer.
I totally
So,
agree with you. Totally agree.
well, we have you on today. We spoke a few weeks ago. It's June 11th, 2026 right now, for those who may be watching in the future.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, and you shared things about your story that I had no idea about. And I thought we have to unpack this more in depth and get Sandra on AAPC Social Hour, hear the whole story. Sandra, tell us a little bit about where you're from, your background, and your career path prior to medical coding.
Okay, I was born and raised in Ohio on the northern end, right off of Lake Erie. And if many of you are from Ohio or the northern area of the United States, you know this big amusement park called Cedar Point has 22 major roller coasters. So I grew up riding roller coasters and living the life up there. I, grew up about 5 minutes from the park. Um, then I went to college and I majored in biology and speech and communications at Capital University in Columbus, Ohio. After I graduated college, I owed money just like everybody does. So I became a welder. I welded on third shift for 9 years
I
and
need to
I
stop you
worked,
right there
go ahead.
because you went to college for
I
biology
did.
and
I did.
speech therapy, or
I did.
and what was your plan at that time? I mean,
Well,
what was
I
your
had a
career
plan.
ambition?
Well, wait till you hear this, Alex. So I had a
Okay.
great plan. So there's this very famous gentleman named Jack Hanna from Columbus, Ohio, that like was general manager or president of the zoo. And during Capitol, I went to my advisor, and he's like, Sandra, you have not picked a major yet, and it's going into your senior year. What would you like to do? I said, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know how you're supposed to know what you want to do with the rest of your life at the age of 23, 24. I just don't get it. That's a lot of pressure. Anyways, he told me, Sandra, if you work really hard your senior year, you've got enough that you can double major. He goes, now, not many seniors want to work that hard their senior year. They want to glide through, just get it over with. And that was not my opportunity. I decided that, once you're a full-time student, you're going to pay for the full year anyways. It doesn't matter if you take 11 credit hours or 17, you're still going to pay the full-time student fee. So I went ahead and doubled down my senior year. And during my senior year, I went to a career class because they thought that that would be a good idea. Sandra, you don't know what career you want. Why don't you go into being in the career class? And so um, one of the assignments was to find somebody that has a career that you would like to do and interview them. So I called up the Columbus Zoo and I spoke to Jack Hanna's secretary. And I told him, told her, I should say, what I was doing, what I was doing for school, what the whole assignment was. So they set me up with an interview. So I had a professional one-on-one interview with Jack Hanna. He's been on all the late
Awesome.
night shows with the animals and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yes.
And he set me up with HR and I had a job. Like I had a job. Well, Alex, lo and behold, the job was great, except for it only paid $8 an hour.
Mm.
And, you know, how can I put it? $8 an hour, living as a single female. I mean, I wasn't married. I wasn't, you know, I had to pay my own rent, drive a dependable car. Nobody wants to get stuck someplace at 24 years old and not be able to make it to work every day.
Yeah.
And the zoo is in an area that's a little bit higher end. So, of course, I'd have to drive a distance, and there's no way paying off my college education, paying off, your rent, your renter's insurance, car insurance, gas, medical expenses, just life, it's very expensive. And so I had to decline because I just saw myself getting in a big hole financially and going to have to owe a lot of interest on these credit cards. I mean,
Hmm.
on those student loans. So I started looking for a job related towards money, not towards what I wanted to do with my life. I had to kind of make like a little adjustment there because
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I'm going to be honest with you, welding was very, very difficult. You know, the plant, I worked at a factory, and it was made for guys that were 200 pounds and 6 foot. And at the age of 25, I
Well,
was
how
150.
did welding even find you, Sandra? Like, you thought, oh, hey, there's this job, a welder. I'm going to apply. How does that
Well,
happen?
well, see, so I grew up in the country. And so when you grow up in the country and you're hands-on about a lot of stuff, I mean, between driving the lawnmower and being in the creek and you do a lot of hands-on stuff. So, and I'm
Uh-huh.
not shy of hard work. I never have been. And to be honest with you, Alex, the factory was only 8 minutes from my house. So when you're talking about saving money on gas and saving
Yes.
money, time consuming of driving, like you were just talking about getting stuck. I mean, it just seemed like a good idea. I mean, what's going to happen? Am I going to apply and I'm not going to get the job? Okay,
Yeah.
what's new? So, I went ahead and applied and I got the job. And like I said, it was a hard job. The factory was for guys that are 200 pounds, 6 foot. And here I walk in 5'3", 115. And but you know what? I'm a hard worker and it paid off. I worked there for 9 years. I made some seriously good cash and I paid off my college education in 9 years. I
Wow.
wrote that last check to Capital University and I moved to another country, Alex.
Did you really?
Yes, yes, yes. And while I was a welder, because I worked third shift, I typically took on part-time jobs. I was a basketball referee for 3 years. So I refereed basketball from anywhere from little kids all the way through JV, boys and girls. Those were some experiences. I'll tell you what. I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's some seriously cute, cool stories and some harassing stories as well, being a basketball official. I bartended, I worked at Home Depot, and I always volunteered to work on the weekends at the factory. And that is how I became so mechanically inclined because when you work on the weekends, I wasn't a welder. I was like the maintenance man, his little assistant, whether I was getting screwdrivers or holding wires or, we did everything to fix everything. So I have actually been a handy woman for 30 years, Alex.
Wow.
I have the last house I bought, I have tore down the whole thing and rebuilt the whole thing by structure wise. That is not a joke. I am hired still to this day. I typically work for females, single mothers that can't afford, men that are really expensive or women that are really expensive. If they need a window replaced, if they want their gutters hung, if they want screens on their windows, if they want drywall replaced, if they, want ceiling fans put up. I get called for all sorts of things because I have done a lot. I mean, a lot. So, but like I said, I usually work for females that don't want strangers in their house that are men, or they have children and they just don't feel comfortable. I worked for two sisters that were older that had their mother living with them. So there's always people that need help. And a lot of times if I work for a husband and wife, it's because the husband, just isn't agile, can't get on a ladder and stuff like that, or can't do it by himself because, he's in his 70s. But I've actually remodeled my whole entire house head to toe and put insulation in and new windows and new doors and new roof and everything. So all in all, I have done it all.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And so, what great skill sets you have. Diverse, like
Diverse. Yes.
biology
Yes. Yes.
background, and then welding, and then handywoman extraordinaire, and incomes healthcare somehow.
Well, what happened was, so when I went to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, I absolutely loved it. It was the best 8 years of my life. I mean, I would never take any of that back. But I actually used my college education, which is so crazy in a third world country. I gave an 8-hour tour to 12 tourists a day in a German Unimog that's open vehicle. And I talked about the history, the culture. So there's my speech and communications because the tour was 8 hours long. So you talked for about 4 of the 8 hours, like to tell them things, interesting things, partake in things. And then I gave them a 45-minute nature walk to talk about the flora and the fauna. We had great discussions. I am still very, very good friends with so many of my tourists. I've stayed at their houses. They've come to visit me. So when you spend 8 hours with somebody, and you really bond, it kind of just takes it to a whole new level. So I'm still very close to some of them. But after 8 years, I was ready to move back to the United States. And I took a 31-day tour in the back of my car through all the way through Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, uh, Montana, Idaho, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, and I just landed back in Oklahoma City. And when I got here in Oklahoma City, I was like, you know what? I think this is the place for me. It's got a lot of country folks. I grew up in the country. I like the country. I became a ranch hand for 3 years.
Mm.
And like I said, then there was a lot of like, like sometimes when you're just trying to find where your next move is and you just don't know
Mhm.
where that is. And all of a sudden, like I told you guys, even Dave on the interview, I mean, we were on our way to a wedding on the back of the motorcycle. And I heard the great advertisement and COVID hit and it all worked itself out. I mean, if I wouldn't have been laid off because of COVID, would I have really gone and ventured to go back to school? I don't know. Who knows? But when I heard the advertising and thought about it for quite some time, but you have to understand when I heard the advertising, I wasn't laid off yet, so it was just
Okay.
in the back of my mind. But then
Well,
once you got laid off, that's when I really started to look at the opportunity of going back to school and using my undergraduate degree.
I apologize for interrupting you so much, but my brain is just going, it just is filled with
Hey,
questions.
it's okay.
What appealed to you about that radio ad? Do you recall what jumped
Yes,
out at you?
yes, yes. So since I was kind of in the lost area, I know it's odd to be lost in your later 40s, but I was, because of all this diverse career stuff. I'm like, what am I going to tackle next? When the ad talked about what a medical coder does, okay, so the ad did not say this, Alex, but this is how I interpreted it. Okay. So
Okay.
sometimes when things are said to you, maybe it's not the way they meant it, but this is the way I took it. Okay.
Okay.
If you are detail organized, that's me. If you know anything about medicine, that's me. If you love puzzles, that
Mm,
is so me. I love puzzles. And I'm not talking about just the puzzles like you're like with your hands. I love those puzzles too. But I'm talking about like word puzzles, like where you read a paragraph and then you have to decide which person did whatever. I mean, they got some really intricate puzzles, like that kind of stuff. And that is all for me. So I knew the minute I heard those descriptions, I was like, this is something I need to look into. Like, I don't even know what this is,
mm,
but this sounds like something pretty cool.
mm.
And so, from that advertising of just those three things that kind of zoned in with my personality, I thought, I like this idea. I'm going to check this out. And then, obviously, once I started really digging into what is it, what will I be doing, what would I expect? And I'll be honest with you, Alex, I have so many family members in the medical field. So my mother is an RN. Obviously, she's retired, but she's a retired RN. My best friend is an occupational therapist. My sister and my brother-in-law are both PTs, and they own their own PT outpatient therapy session in North Carolina. And then my sister-in-law is a social worker at a children's hospital in Orlando, Florida. So I have a lot of people I can lean on to ask about, do you think this would be good for me? Do you think that maybe this is something I would like to do? And they all said, oh my gosh, you would be really good at this. Like you've got that brain that, because my brain, they always refer it to like, it's like a filing system. They're like, you remember everything and you know where things are and you're just so accurate about stuff. So I thought, well, let's try it and see what happens. So that's how it all came about there.
Wow, that's amazing. So from that point, you weren't laid off when you first heard that ad, but eventually you do get laid off, and then you recall that ad. What steps did you take to put all of this in motion?
Okay, so when I heard the ad and then I researched what it was and then I talked to my family members, I actually reached out. I'm a planner, Alex. I'm a big planner. I reached out to OSU OKC and got a hold of the person that, like, signs people up. And I tried to explain to her, like, kind of where I was in my life, and I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to hear what she had to say. And, she sent me more information. So the minute I got laid off, I had it already planned out. Like, I was ready to go because I had already reached out to somebody, already had what they were expecting from me, what to expect from them. So the minute I reached out to her, um, since we had already touched base and she knew that I was already educated on what my options were, we just needed to pick which option would work best for me.
Okay, all right. And um, taking the APC curriculum or course, and or did you take the APC course or somewhere else? And then what was your experience like with the exam? I know there are many who, because the exam is notoriously difficult. What was that like?
Okay, so this is a good question. So during my studies, I didn't know. You have to understand, I did not know that AAPC offered their own course
Mhm.
online. Okay. I thought that you had to go to a school. So I investigated which school I thought the certification would look the best from. That's why I went to
Mhm.
a college. I thought, you know what, if I go to a college that has their masters and doctrine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you get a certification, it's going to look better that you went there than someplace no one's ever heard of. So
Yes.
that's one reason why I picked them because I thought it seemed very authentic.
Yes.
Um, Now, I did have some issues with the program that I think I might not have had going through AAPC, but that's okay. You
Yeah.
just learn. You
Yeah.
learn things, but they were very nice and the schooling was great. It was very in-depth. One of the questions you had sent me was, about the school, and I know that's what we're getting into right now, but preparing was just so time consuming. I mean, like
Mhm.
some of these women that I say women because, most coders are women, but men too, how they go have a job, three kids, and go to school for this. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. But as my mother, she was a huge support system. I could call her because she's retired. I could ask her how to say things, and because she's an RN, if I needed a little bit more in-depth information. And sometimes we would just be on the phone on a Saturday, and I would just go over things that I learned, or I would just, use the pronunciations, and she would correct me so that I knew what I was talking about. So, it's always helpful to have a family member that is very, very supportive and has time for you. But I did a lot of flashcards. I mean, I have a stack. No, I'm not kidding you, Alex. I bought so many flashcards because to me, like whether you're stretching, I work out a lot. So whether I'm stretching or, I'm going to be cooking or doing laundry, if I can look through four or five flashcards, at least you're constantly putting it in your brain and therefore you're learning and
Because
learning.
that's the thing is the exam is not about memorization. And I think many people, when they come into this, they think, oh, how do I memorize all of these codes in these massive code books? But
Right.
it's not that. So you are using the flashcards maybe just to help recall on a level because you can't memorize them all.
No, I use the flashcards a lot for the class. Because you got to
Okay.
pass the class before
Okay.
you can take the exam. You won't get
Got it.
your exam voucher until you pass the class.
Okay.
So my flashcards were more towards passing the actual class. Um, because you're timed and there's only so many minutes. So, you want to make sure you know what you're talking about. You don't want to just get in there and take forever to find an answer for something. So, and that really did help with the exam. Okay, because what happens is that you do have 10 anatomy and physiology questions, and you don't know what those are going to be. And like right now, I'm an orthopedic specialist. So I only zone in on orthopedic. If you ask me something about the kidneys, I'd be like, I don't know. I'd have to look that up online. I did not. That went in my short-term memory and right back out. I was like, not a clue. Um, but the thing is that because I took a lot of time during the actual course to absorb as much as I could, I found that taking the exam, I was just more prepared.
Okay.
So, like I said, you've got 10 anatomy and physiology questions, and those answers are not in the book. Like they're
Mm,
not just written down. Now, once I passed the course and I was getting ready for the exam, and you guys have really enhanced, I give kudos to AAPC. You guys have really enhanced some of the exam information for people. I really didn't know much about it. I hadn't gone to any meetings. I did not know any other coders. I had not spoken to anybody about the exam. I just went in and went to go take it. Now, one thing I did not know, but I did love about the exam, I wish I would have known ahead of time, I would have been more prepared, is that they actually go in the order of the book, which I
okay.
liked.
Okay.
Because what happens is that you're so overwhelmed about flipping through the pages. And if I would have known that they were going to do like the first 10 questions are going to be on the 1000s, and then the 2000, oh my gosh, when I got in there and saw that, I really just decompressed. I go, oh my God, this is so much nicer than what I thought it was going to be, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that really helped me as far as when I first started taking. And I said, okay, you can do this now that you know that you can just go through section after section. Now, I went on AAPC and I got a bunch of information about the test.
Mm,
Like how many questions are in the 1000s, how many questions are in the 2000s, how many questions are going to be related to this. And after taking the course, then that's when I kind of highlighted the areas that I really needed to focus on. And another thing is, I tab my books differently than some people. Do you want me to show you,
mm.
Alex? Do you
Sure.
want me to show you
Yeah.
how I tab my
Yeah. Let's
books?
see the.
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
I use the 2026 books, but I'm going to show you a 2024 book.
Okay.
So you guys have like, I know you guys don't make these books. You guys have these tabs in the front. And when
Yeah.
I was a student, I tried to use them and it was not worth a crap because these don't go by numbers, right?
Mm,
They go by the types and stuff. And then if
okay.
you put them where your fingers go, how are you going to flip through the pages?
Yeah.
Because you're taking a test and you have so much time, right? So what I do is I put like all the ones divided up and then I put the alphabet down here. And so when
Okay.
on my CPT book, sorry, Alex, I'm going to move you around for a second. On my CPT book, I do the same. I put all the numbers up here,
Hmm.
and then I put all so that when you're taking the test, you have no idea how much that helps. Because
Okay.
when you use those big tabs and you don't know what you're doing because no one's told you, I just
Hmm.
kept going, how am I going to find the answer? I can't even flip through the book.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I made my own tabbing system, and every year I tab my own books, and I continue with that system. And when I taught, I actually took, you guys did great, by the way, giving out that review class for the officers.
Oh.
I know it didn't stick with everybody, but I took advantage. I was the vice president for the first year. I was 3 months into being an officer. I sat down and took all 3 Saturdays you guys had to offer. I did the CPC, the CPB, and the COC because I'd had all of those. And that was one of the things during the class that I taught all the girls. And, most of the girls, I'll be honest with you, have come back to me and said, Sandra, your class saved me. Like, because you
Okay.
explained, you got us so much prepared.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. A lot of things benefit a lot of people, and I was just trying to explain to them my experience and
Yes.
what I found helpful. I tried to explain to them because when I took the test, like the ones that are out of order that are that are need to be resequenced and like, where is the number? I'm like, please make sure you kind of have an idea where to find those at because you don't want to be in the middle of a test and you're like, I don't know. Like, I tried to tell them it was very funny, very, very funny. I said, okay, everybody, I have COVID. So in the ICD-10 book, please find COVID. I don't know if you know this, Alex, but COVID is a U code. It is all the way in the back behind the Z's. Now, how
Wow.
would you know that if no one told you that?
Yeah.
So I said, and you're going to get asked a COVID question because this is something new. So get
Yeah.
ready. And they're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Sandra, I would have never found the COVID thing. I go, I know. It's kind of disturbing when you're in your class. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm taking this test. Why don't I
Yeah.
know where the COVID thing is?
Well, I love everything that you've shared about the exam. I mean, how practical for any student watching to see your method of tabbing the books and getting your mentality of that. I think that's going to help a lot of students.
Well, I think another thing, Alex, is I always told my people during my review class is that, and this is a true statement, and I know not everybody has time for this, but if you could study your book, and I know that's a weird thing, I'm not talking about studying like memorizing, but studying to know where something can be found.
Mm.
That will really help you with the exam. Guidelines, know what page your guidelines are on. Know where a few complicated things are. Know where the imagery is. You guys got great images in there.
Hmm.
And if you get to an anatomy question and you don't know the answer, you better know where the kidney page is because you're on a time limit. And I took the test when it was 150 questions at 6 hours. So it's cut down a
Yeah.
little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I do want to commend you. It was probably one of the best social hours that you had, and I
Mm.
have passed it around. I don't know, Alex, I'd say 20 times or 50 times. I even have it in my phone. You had it was the beginning of last year in February, and I've
Okay.
always told other AAPC people in corporate, I wish you could put Alex's and Dave's things like where I can always find them instead of having to scroll all the way down the Facebook page. I was like, I can't stand that because I know exactly where I want to go to. And I told Dave that I listen to you guys on Saturdays when I'm like doing laundry and stuff, and I'm
Oh,
always scrolling to find you
yeah.
guys. I'm like, why? Why can't you just have like Dave and Alex has their own Facebook page, right there? Like I could just go and listen to all of them at one time. It's all good.
Well,
But you had somebody on there that was explaining the electronical exam with the electronical books,
okay.
and she provided the link to practice,
Mm.
like where the notebook is and how to take it. And oh my gosh, I have given that link out so many times to people because I'm like, if you are not comfortable with the screen, if you don't know where to move your mouse, if you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing, you are going to make yourself so stressed out because you're already nervous. And then
Yes.
that makes you even more nervous because you're wasting time trying to get comfortable with the screen. I said, so please go to this link, download this apparatus. You can do it as many times as you want,
Yeah.
just so you know where to put things. So when you go to take the test, you're comfortable with the program that they're giving you to use.
Yes. Yes. Just make it
So,
easier on yourself by
yes,
having
yes.
those experiences before. Just so you know, Sandra, you can find AAPC Social Hours on YouTube as well.
Oh,
And
really?
there's a playlist for AAPC Social Hour that might cut down on the scrolling on Facebook. Just a
I
little
know
heads up there.
I do. I sit there and I go and I look. I'm like, where the hell are they?
Yeah. Hey, I want to hear. So it's pandemic time, and you take the course, you study, you pass the exam. The next step is something we hear a lot from students who have passed the exam. How do I get that first position? What was your first position, and how did you get that job, Sandra?
So it is hard. It's hard. And I told you in Dave and Social Hour, you really got to buckle down. You can't get discouraged. When my boyfriend watched the Social Hour that you guys had me on, he says, "Oh my gosh, I remember those months." He goes, "That was very stressful for you. I'm a very very organized fanatical freak, and I had an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not kidding you, Alex. So what I would do with my Excel spreadsheet is I would list all the jobs that I saw available. Okay. I would list the actual hospital or who was, providing the job, what the title was, and what date I applied.
Okay.
And my Excel spreadsheet was huge um, because, of course, I just kept applying. Um, and then, of course, I'd have the wonderful column of rejection emails.
Mm.
Did you get rejected? Yes, 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 yes. And I would actually print out the rejection letters um, because I wanted to keep them to make sure that I understood that I already had applied there and I didn't fit whatever they wanted to. So, unless you find another job description, don't apply for that job again. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was
Mm.
trying to narrow stuff down. But I did apply at several places. And I will be honest with you, I didn't do what some people do. I didn't do like LinkedIn.
Okay.
I did the actual, like, I would go to LinkedIn or some of the job sites and find out which hospitals were hiring, but I would actually only apply from the actual hospital webpage.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
that way I knew that the person getting it was an HR, the person that I applied to was the actual hospital, wasn't some scammer. Because, there's so
Mm.
many scammers out there in the world. It's just crazy what they try to get you to fill out and do and stuff like that. So, and I'll be honest with you, I'm sure my speech and communications, major came in handy. I know not everybody's got that, but I've heard RNs that can't even get a job, and they would have been higher up than I would have. But when you start getting some interviews, like so, my very first interview was at a hospital here in Oklahoma City, and the team was so nice to me, like really, really nice. I was so devastated I did not get that job because I really
Mm.
thought like I would really, you're trying to look for a work family. I'm not saying I don't
Yeah.
have friends, of course I do, but you want to like who you work with. You don't always
Yeah.
have to, but it just makes the job so much easier when you have a mentor and people that have the same mojo you have and you fit
Yeah.
together. And I really, really enjoyed the team environment there. Now, I did not get that job, and it was because somebody higher qualified got the job, which was fine. But I did reach out to the girl that I felt we connected with, and I asked her, like, what do you think I should do? Did I
Mm.
do something in my interview that you thought like I should change? Should I say something else? Should I change something on my resume? So I got some tidbits, some feedback on there. Another thing is I went to I'm not kidding you, Alex, I went to all the job fairs here in Oklahoma City because we
Okay.
have a lot of hospitals here, right? And I thought, to me, I know the world is different, Alex. I know that everything is electronical now, but to me, if you can't put a face and a voice and a personality with a piece of paper, and all they are is scanning for 7 words that they think is their favorite words,
Yeah. Yeah.
to me, that just isn't even giving anybody a chance. Anyway, so I went to the job fair so I could meet HR, right firsthand, like right there, and ask them, what, and they gave great advice. That's another thing, I mean, as long as they're willing to give advice, and I still tell people that if you can get a job, even in something you're not sure you're going to like, it'll still get your foot in the door. I mean, maybe
Hmm.
it's not something that you're like, oh, that's really what I want to do. No, it's not what you really want to do. But if you can work for a hospital, I'm not kidding, even in the gift shop, work for a
Yeah.
hospital in the gift shop, at least now your social security number, and you can show them that you have a good work ethic, that you come to work on time,
Yeah.
and you can probably mentor because you'll have to sign a HIPAA,
Oh.
agreement anyways, um, to work there because there'll be patients be coming in with their wristbands and stuff. And so if you wanted to shadow somebody in coding, if you wanted to move from gift shop to patient, registration, and then patient registration to billing and billing to coding, I always tell people that it it's not going to hurt you to try to get in there, even if you do it as a weekend job. Say you're like, okay, I still want to keep looking for another job because I'll be honest with you, looking for a job is a job. That's how,
Mm.
stressful it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I got very lucky. I got very lucky. I did find my employer. I guess I really resonated with her on what I wrote. And I got lucky that someone actually read my resume, instead of, but they were desperate as
Yeah.
far as trying to find somebody to fill this position. And then they found out that there were so many applicants that were being tossed aside. So they kind of took the reins from HR and said, you know what, we're going to hire our own people because I think you're not giving everybody a chance.
Hmm.
Um, and I got in here and I did radiology coding first. So I work at an orthopedic hospital, and they were 6 months behind, Alex, when I started.
Wow.
Within 6 months of me working here, we were 24 hours behind the radiologist. So
Wow.
I just, they used to come to my cubicle. I'm in a different location right now, but they used to come to my cubicle and I would call it my scientific wallpaper. And it was all of my notes, according to body part to try to
Yeah.
help me code faster because we were so far behind. I
Yeah.
was trying to learn. I was trying to learn a new program. I was trying to learn new people. I was trying to learn a whole new world of life. And if I had to keep opening and keep asking somebody questions, so I just took lots of notes, typed it all out, and I'm not kidding you, my whole entire cubicle from head to toe was just covered in papers of information about different body parts in the radiology department so that I could get a grasp on this and keep moving forward. Um, and then there was an opening in the orthopedic surgical coding world, and I applied at the same place that I started, and I was bumped up to be an orthopedic surgical coder. So, and that is where I am today.
Okay, amazing. I love it. Just to see where you were and here you
Yes,
are. That's pretty
yes,
amazing. We
yes.
have just a few minutes left, Sandra. I
Okay.
want to just, in the next 5 minutes, just kind of unpack your your love of serving and helping other professionals in this industry. You in during our AAPC Social Hour broadcast mentioned how you just love to help, and I had no idea that you were flying out to our national office to help stuff bags and help us prepare for HealthCon. I'm like, wow, because usually we get like the Salt Lake chapter because
Right.
based in Salt Lake, so we have them come out and they help out. But here you are, just willing to you go the distance and more
You.
than that, Sandra. Why? What inspires you to do that?
That's a very I guess I'll be honest with you, Alex. I think I've been told that I'm a helper my whole life. I like hands-on stuff. So being a helper is a hands-on type of person. But moving to a third world country, and seeing their culture. I mean, Alex, I moved there and didn't speak any Spanish at all,
Mm,
and everybody was so helpful. I mean, just they want you to learn, they want you to be a part of their culture. They Nobody charged me any money to take Spanish classes with them or read a book or ask questions. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get it that everybody's about money, 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 because it does. It pays your bills. I get that.
mm,
But you have to think outside the box that if the people in Mexico didn't help me learn their language and their culture and weren't nice about it, I wouldn't have the most wonderful things to say about their country that I do today, and
mm,
I do have a lot of wonderful things to say about Mexico and the way that they treated me and the way that they treat other people and how much they give to other people when they have very little to give. And so when I became a coder and I realized how hard it is to learn things and get somebody to explain things with my speech and communications major and the fact that I was a tour guide and people used to say, "Oh my gosh, you explain that so well. I totally understand where you're coming from." So I just kind of took that and I just went with it, if that makes sense. And I know I mentioned several people on the social hour that were great mentors to me. And it's people like that that inspire other people. I hope I inspire somebody someday. I do know a few people at HealthCon came up to me and said, "Sandra, you are a true inspiration to see what you have done with your life." And that makes you feel good. But my point is that people inspired me. People helped me. People didn't make me pay for their time. People didn't make me pay for their education. And so I always have to say to myself, I wouldn't be where I am today if people didn't help me. So I try to pay it forward and help those in return. And plus it is such a very difficult career when you don't really know where to go. And Alex, since I know you show this to many people or people see this, remember the place I told you that I went to interview for and I got a really good, nice vibe off of the team. I
yes.
still tell my girls that are my CPCAs today that are looking for a job. Um, that was the best question I got asked. During your course of anatomy and studying on the CPT and the ICD-10, what was your favorite body part? Like, what was your favorite group?
Mm,
And in my answer, it was orthopedic, which is the musculoskeletal section, or heart. Those are my top two. So I got very lucky that I got a radiology job coding for an orthopedic because I applied for everything, whether it was,
mm,
kidneys or OBGYN, but that wasn't the point. The point was is that I always tell people that if you really enjoyed a section of the book, you will truly enjoy coding more. And because I'm a handyman, oh my gosh, when I talk to the orthopedic surgeons, we talk about drill bits and impact guns and oscillator
Oh,
saws and blades and the
oh,
brittleness. I mean, I can have a full-fledged conversation because, I'm used to using wood and building things together. And we talk about the different types of screw heads and, what they're made out of. And it just, like, if you're passionate about something and you really, really enjoy something, I think it just makes your job so much easier to either delve into, get a higher education in, or just continue to grow with it. I suppose that's what I would like to say. So,
well, I think that's a great place to stop because just to share that passion and helping other people, it's right in front of them probably as they
yes,
are going through their course. So, Sandra, what an amazing story you have.
I just have one more thing because you said you want to end
Yes,
on a good
listen.
note. So,
Yep.
because of the education and the continuing education, and in 2025, Alex, I got 200 CEUs. So
Wow.
I made for 2026, I made a brand new presentation. It's called Embracing Education with Enthusiasm. So I am taking my experience and I'm going to use that as examples of things that you can do to make yourself a better coder, be more educated, and learn. So it's going to be incorporated with kind of like my timeline and what you guys have to offer and other places have to offer as far as, chapter meetings and stuff and how to find these things for your own specialty. Obviously, the whole thing's going to be about ortho because that's what I zone in on. But
Yeah.
that's not my point. My point is that I definitely have the embracing education with enthusiasm presentation coming around the corner. So maybe I can send you the link one day and you can just watch it on
Yes.
one of the virtual meetings and be like,
I'd
ah,
love that.
that
I'd
would be
love that.
awesome, Sandra.
Yes. Hey, when you're presenting at a chapter, let me know and I'll hop in. I'd love to sit in on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I will be honest with you. I always do the first two or three in person.
Okay.
Uh, because virtual, you just never know what people are thinking. But if
Yes,
you do
yes.
it two or three times in person, you can add to your slides. You can kind of go with what they were thinking or how you were feeling about something, and then you're ready to do a virtual. It's hard to do a virtual for the first time, I think, if you don't know what people are thinking or saying about what
Yes.
you're doing. So, but yes, in the fall, I'm already scheduled for some virtuals to do that. So I
Okay.
will send that link to you, and if you have time,
All
you can
right.
watch it.
Yes. So, and then for anybody who's out there, and you see that Sandra's speaking at your chapter meeting, this sounds like a fun one to attend. S- Sandra, thank you so much for sharing your story. And you can find Sandra's story more in AAPC, the magazine. I think it was just a few months ago. So maybe what do you
It was
remember
just
what
this month. It was this
this month?
month. Yes.
Okay. So the
Yes.
June edition?
June issue, and everybody have got it on like May 20th.
Okay.
Um, so and guess what, Alex?
What's that?
You're gonna see me on the cover of July also. No,
Oh, I know
seriously,
why.
because we
Chapter of
won
the
chapter
year.
of the year. Yes.
Yes. So awesome.
So
So
you'll be able
awesome.
to read about our chapter and what we have to offer. It was great working with Renee and Lee on all of that. So you guys have got a great crew. AAPC has just been very wonderful to me. And it's funny when you ask me, I know that, we got to wrap things up, but when you ask me about flying out to the corporate office, you guys have given so much to me. And if I can give back one weekend, out of 52 weekends and help you guys out, to me, I think that's a very small price to pay because when I'm there, I get more out of it than what you guys think. So that's for sure. Just this, the environment being there. And, Maggie is very special to me and so is Kristen. And I always get to meet somebody new. And Ray's coming, by the way, Ray is coming to Oklahoma City to,
Amazing.
because we won chapter of the year. So she
Oh,
comes and
that's right.
speaks. She comes and
Fun.
speaks for us. So I've met Ray at the corporate office bagging. So who would have known? You're
Yeah.
gonna meet Ray while you're bagging things for the nationals. So, but anyways,
Sandra, thanks so much for sharing your story, and I'm sure it's inspired many, and we wish you the best in all that you do in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Alex. I appreciate it.